forest. You see the typical Japanese country houses.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. So usually you don't do that so much, but if it's
nice.
Japanese, the Chinese style is more with decorative figures and so on.
The birch. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's Swedish birch.
Birds.
Yeah.
This is what we call a typical Swedish tree.
Yeah, very typical Scandinavian tree. Yeah.
Yeah, Scandinavian moment.
Yeah. And here's a large, cedars. Yes.
Cedar.杉だよね.
Yeah, this is a juniper, and it's called rigida. They are kind of rigida means rigid, tough, sticky, and they are difficult to make bonsai because you get hurt when working on them. But it's a beautiful tree.
Yeah.
And spirea. Spirea is quite used to in hedges actually. And,
hedges.
Yeah. But what you look for particular is the nebari, the root system. And in deciduous trees like that, you can have a form like a rounded form that's quite common. And in exhibitions in Japan, like Taikan 10 in Kyoto, it's in late November. And of course then the leaves have gone down, and this is preferred when viewing deciduous tree because you can see the branches and how beautifully they have been made. When they grow, it's just a mass really. It's beautiful too, but it's nice when you can see the work.
And how much of the art is to cut, and how much is to keep it small and to shape it?
I mean, you keep it small by cutting the roots, and also 1/3 you cut when you replant it, and also you cut the branches when they grow when you don't want them. So this is one way of keeping the form. Then of course with this art you have to be skilled in what is the need of that type of tree. And it's different. The pine doesn't want so much water. Maple wants a lot of water, but they grow fast, of course, also. So it's different. Some people specialize in only a few, others wants everything. So, yeah, this is a Acer palmatum. It's a Japanese maple, and it's already started to get red now. It's a little bit hint of the coming autumn. They get completely red, of course, in the spring and in the autumn. The chlorophyll goes down. So this is Bunjin style. It's called Bunjin, very popular in China as well as in Japan and internationally. A Scotch pine, Silvestris. And so the Bunjin style, they have just a few branches of this, like Kanjin painting. And here we have a quince. It's a Chinese variation of quince. And this one gives both red and yellow flowers. Yeah, a very multi-trunk type of pine. And I believe this is goyomatsu in Japanese. So go of course is 5. So that's why it's called. There's 5 needles. In Swedish pines like this, they only have 2. Or kuromatsu also got 2. So they're very popular because they're tough, and they grow in the mountains in Japan, so they're tough for climate. But also because there's so many needles, looks rather dense.
Yeah.
So you can now shape the clouds very easily.
So beautiful. Do you keep the metal string, or do you take that away
No,
after
you
a
take,
while?
you take them away, and then you may have to put them back.
Back again too.
It's a process. Sometimes you can totally take them away. Sometimes you have to just a little. But you have to watch out so they don't hurt the bark. So it's a constant. This is what we call a shore hit. So usually then a display of 5 different small trees.
Very nice. Balance.
Yes, and it's quite difficult because they're small. You keep them very nice and well matured. So it's here we have Sylvestris again, and the Chinese pot.
And this is ground. Do you
ground?
import from?
Yes, this is Akadama, which is, we have a similar in Sweden called Katsa.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it's not as good as Akadama, because Akadama is really hardly pressed, and there are different sizes depending what you want.
So you use katsan for
You can, if you can't get those, yeah.
And it's cheaper.
without lavender.
Yes. So this is again a Lungin style Sylvestris. And this is this one I bought in Europe actually. It's quite nice. And a ligustrum again. Some with a Chinese pot. I think this is a little bit of a mixture, the style, a little bit of a mixture of Chinese and Japanese. This looks quite Japanese, but with the guy there and so on, it becomes a bit Chinese, and therefore it's quite nice to have the Chinese pot inside. And here we have an oak. Oak are difficult sometimes to dig up because they have one long root, and if you cut it, they're difficult to survive. Yeah. So this one is done well. And the pot type is called yeah. This is really how you appreciate and see how old it is when you see, look at the bark and it's flaky, and that's why we really want to expose the root in the bark system, because in very old trees you can always see that the big roots are coming out, and that's a sign. Many of those things you don't really know, but you collect them together and you get the impression, okay, this is an old tree. I don't know why, but it's an old tree. But we know why, because of these different aspects.
And how old is this tree?
But this one was dug up, so you don't know how old it was when it was dug up.
You have to do a DNA test.
Yes. Where is carbon 14?
Yeah, carbon
Yes,
14.
right. This is Sabina, Juniper Sabina. It comes from Spain, in the area outside Valencia, in the mountains.
I see,
in the
I
mountains
see.
there is a lot of snow in the winter.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they press down,
they
and then
have-
in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
summer it comes up,
Yeah, yeah.
and then that's why the branches become
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And it's in bonsai. Bonsai people, it's very appreciated.
Yes,
because
yes, of course.
It creates
That's
very
right.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
things.
Oh,
This is amazing.
Those kids
Yeah.
now when you get married,
Yes. Yes.
symbol longevity,
Yeah.
happiness.
This is a shujibai, quince, and it's with the good fruits.
Chojuba.
Shujibai, yes. And they have beautiful red flowers in the spring, so it's very appreciated as a bonsai material. Again, it's quite with this Bunjin style. If you look look at the one at the end there. Also, you can find them on bogs, marshland, in the forests, because and they can get really really old. I should say that one is easily 100 years old, because the roots don't get much nutrients and so on, so they grow very 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 slowly, and sometimes it's difficult to take them up, and sometimes it's easier. If they grow on a little hill thing, then it's easier. So
So you can wander around the bush or the forest and find the right one and then take it home.
You should ask the landowner.
Landowner, yeah.
I don't think so many do.
But you have elements wrecked that you can go into many places.
But you can't dig. You can't dig
you
things
can
up.
pick.
No.
Yeah,
You can walk, but
Ah.
many times in the forest they're owned by forest companies. And if you phone them and say we want to go pick, I say we don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and this is Japanese or Chinese juniper. So, but it's a variation which is Japanese, which is called Ikonikawa.
Is it apples?
Yes, it's an apple. And they're very quite popular because they produce these very small apples. Yes.
What kind of apple tree is this?
Well,
It's not
I
a
don't know.
Swedish type, I
No,
understand.
you make jam out of these. You don't. You can't really.
No. From this one?
Yeah, from these type
From
of
this?
apples. Yeah.
Okay. Apple jam.
Yeah. Again, this one is Shimpaku. That's a Shimpaku.
Yeah.
And this one come from Osaka. I brought it back myself. And this is a very old Namban pot. It's a Yamazaki pot. It's from the beginning of last century. Handmade. So it's a famous name.
When we say bonsai, it's always simple.
With the bonsai is always.
Shimpaku is very popular.
Very popular.
Yeah. But through the years, popularity changes.
Is that right?
But right now, Shimpaku is really hot. Here's another, and I should say, when you have a Shohin stamp, it's quite popular to have a pine in the top. This is Goyomatsu and Shohin. So Shohin must be under 20 centimeters. That's the definition. And then if you have them that small as the accent, then it's called mame.
Mame.
Yeah. So this is the bear is also very popular in the hedges. But I think which is interesting with the name here is that there is Thunbergi. And Urumatsu is called Venus Thunbergi.
Thunberry. Because Thunberry found it.
Yes, well, he named it rather.
Yeah.
So it's quite famous in Sweden. He was a pupil of Demir.
江戸時代にトゥンベリさんっていうスウェーデンの学者が来たんです。
エリさんってポピュラーな名前なの。
トゥンベリ is a popular name, no? The
Yeah.
Greta is also Thunberry.
Yeah, oh well, yeah. She's really a fellow of Linné, don't you think? Engaged in nature.
Yeah, well, he
climate.
was Thunberg was Linné's pupil in Uppsala.
Yes,
And he traveled with the Dutch to Japan because Japan was closed for, not for the Dutch people. But Thunberg was also a doctor. So they found out that he was a doctor and he was invited to Tokyo to teach a little bit about Western medicine. And on the travel up to Tokyo, he named, because he's really a botanist. At that time, botany and medicine was quite mixed. So that's why he named so many Japanese trees to the international nomenclature.
Interesting.
He should get a Nobel Prize.
Wow. Yeah, he became the professor after me.
Yes,
so
that's right.
That's
right.
This is the last one here, and it's so potentilla. It's we call it Ölands tåg, and the combination of that word is a bit strange. Öland is the island, the long island in the south. Tåg means a madman. I don't know, but that's local dialect, so I think it doesn't refer to someone stupid. It's just the type of material. But they are very popular also in gardens because they're really tough, and you can see, of course, they die out here, but then they come and with yellow flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is strange at this time of the year because usually they bloom in the spring, but also during the summer. So I think maybe surviving the climbing to the.
Follow me before this.